Here's an interview I hope people find enjoyable. More clips of interviews will be posted from artists such as Sonny Rollins, Wayne Shorter, Branford Marsalis, and more. If you find these interviews interesting and would like to support the project, please go to lesterlives.wordpress.com.
Lester Young is kind of like the embodiment of the spirit and the rhythm of jazz in a way, because Charlie Parker clearly listened to Lester Young. You can hear it in his playing. Stan Getz listened to Lester Young. You can hear it in his playing. And then you jump up to the R&B guys like Don Wilkerson and Red Prysock. All they're doing is playing Lester Young licks much faster with a brighter tone. So there's a connection to all these guys, to Zoot Sims. There's so many guys. Lester was a player. Lester just hired cats to do gigs, and he just did his thing. And it must have been something to behold. Must have been something to behold. Perez had this thing where, his playing kind of sounded like dancing. I mean, people loved hearing him play. People loved hearing him play. They also loved watching him. I mean, he did the show. Horn cocked to the side, pelvic thrust. He had great rhythm. He was great to look at. Whereas a lot of us, we're no fun to look at. We're just not. But he was great to look at, and I just know it because on the Jazz at the Philharmonic things, you can hear the people in the audience cheering in the middle of his solos. They're not cheering because he's just going, so it's, wow, one note, yeah, that's not what it is. That's clear what's happening, is that he's moving to the music and people are digging it. It is possible for a musician to use the sound of his or her instrument, be it a saxophone or a voice, to create an emotional template. And you can tell when they're doing that because every song sounds different. Every song sounds different because they're responding to the sequence, the melodic sequence in the song. I think that one of the things that jazz musicians have forgotten how to do is just play songs. If you play it at the tempo it was meant to be played, it kind of spells it out for you. So you just have to not get in the way of it. Just get out of the way of it and let it exist. And that's one of those things that Lester did. I mean, that's one of the lessons I learned from him. He had the whole package. Handsome devil, looking clean, playing great. You can find pictures of guys all the way up to the 70s, and they're always clean. And one of the reasons is that they truly understood that we're in show business. You would find no jazz musician in the 30s or the 40s, Charlie Parker included, that would argue with the fact that the music is show business. Yeah, there's a huge artistic component to it, but most people that listen to music don't even appreciate music in an artistic way, which is why in our country, they're always saying, I'm going to see such and such. They never say, I'm going to hear anything. And being a musician back then, for a black guy, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot that black people could do. It just wasn't a lot. You could be your own gangster, where the big gangsters like Pendergrass would let you exist as a gangster as long as you knew the rules and told the line. You could be a preacher, or you could be a carpenter. I mean, you compare those things to, being a musician to most people at that time. So you have a guy playing the piano and making well over $100 a night. Bad night is $100. I mean, where else in New Orleans could a black man in 1919 make $100 a day? In New Orleans, it's one of those cities where the music is just so intertwined. It's ingrained in the culture. You have a bunch of kids sitting on a bus clanging out rhythms with pencils on the glass. I mean, that doesn't happen anywhere else. And we would just sing these songs, Iko Iko and Two-Way, Pocky Way, and it was just like that. I think that stuff has more of an impact, even on non-musicians, as it does. It's kind of like when you go to a place like Cuba and they have national songs, and in Brazil they have one song that everybody in the country knows the song. There's something about that, and about music having that kind of place. Like, we don't have that kind of relationship with music in our country. We don't have a national song, but in New Orleans we have several. They're like national songs. It's just the nation of New Orleans. We have our songs, Mardi Gras Mambo and Big Chief and Iko Iko, and we have all these songs that symbolize New Orleans, St. James Infirmary. They're the embodiment of New Orleans, and I think that it is definitely advantageous to grow up in a culture that has a relationship with music like that. As Lester Young is an amalgam of New Orleans and Louis Armstrong and stuff that he heard when he was up there in, was he, Minnesota? I mean, he's all these things. If he is a griot, he's an American griot, and he's reciting the tale of America because he's checking out everybody to make himself better. I mean, that's what I love about him. He's actually the embodiment of what the idea of America is actually supposed to be. Jazz musicians have always been kind of polyglots, the great ones. The great ones have always been polyglots. But Lester was one of those guys, and Charlie Parker was one of those guys. He's going to steal from whoever. And that's what I love. And Sonny Rollins, too. I mean, it was just like, I love guys like that. I love guys that are just going to, I'm going to take this stuff from wherever I need to take it from to move me to the next place. Lester Young saying, hey, man, who's got the info I need? That cat? I don't care if he's green. That's my kind of guy.